the driver's seat into the back has been fantastic. When we arrive at a campsite and it's raining.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I'd like to welcome you to the World Travel Show on the Travel to Money podcast. I am excited today to be back with Nigel and Sue from Nigel and Sue Adventures, and we're going to start a series about how to build your own van for van life. And today, specifically, we're going to be talking about what to look for in a van, how to find the right van for you, how to identify what kind of van is right for you. So, hi, Nigel and Sue. So glad to have you guys here.
Hi, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole. Hey, everyone.
I am excited that you all are celebrating 3 years of van life, and I am celebrating getting ready to get started. And I want to learn a lot from you all. I've already picked out my van and made a purchase recently, and I have some thoughts about at least this part of the process. I've never built a van, so I'm not building my own, but I think it's really cool, and I was really tempted to try to take that on myself, although I might have been a little crazy for that. So I want to learn all about how you all did it and how we can help other people think through that process. Once you decided we want to do van life, how did that start for you? Like, what did you start thinking about when you decided you were going to build out your own van?
Well, I think in terms of choosing the right van for you comes down to a couple of things. And for us, we kind of made a list of things that were our non-negotiables and then things that that we really wanted to have. The number one thing for us was we wanted to be able to stand up in the van. So that is a big consideration because that obviously eliminates a lot of smaller vans like your Toyota Hiace, which is a very popular van here in Australia. And also some of those, like in Europe, we see a lot of those ones with the pop tops. We didn't want to have a pop top. We just wanted something that we could always be able to stand up in. The other thing that was really important when it came to our build was we wanted to be able to get from the bed to the driver's seat and vice versa without going outside. And that was simply a matter of safety, really, I think, because I spend a bit of time by myself in the van. Nigel works away. I needed to know that if ever I didn't feel safe, I could get out of bed, get in the driver's seat and take off. So I guess they were the two real non-negotiables. Then we kind of went through things like, yes, we really want to have a toilet and shower in the van. And everything else with our build, we built it around being able to put our toys, as we call our sporting equipment, in the back, the garage of the van.
So from there, it became obvious to us we needed a high roof and quite a long wheelbase as well. So that we knew we were starting with 7 meters long and the 3 meter high, van. So that narrowed it down. We didn't particularly look at 4-wheel drive.
We just got lucky there.
We kind of got lucky there. It was literally the third van that we looked at and we just kind of knew. I mean, we could have gone for Iveco, we could have gone for Fiat. There's Ford. I think even Ford make a long
Transit, yeah.
Transit.
And in America, you've got the Ram ProMaster, and there's a few different ones.
Yeah, our advice would be, and I look back to when I'm looking at a car. There's kind of a stressful, time, right? I don't particularly enjoy looking for vehicles, but I think you got to narrow it down. It's like, okay, what do we like most out of those 3 or 4? We just started with the Sprinter, the Mercedes Sprinter, to see what was out there. If we had have failed in finding something there, we might have moved on to the Iveco or whatever, but we kind of got lucky in a way.
I think, first off, really agree with what you said, Sue, about the standing room. To me, that was a pretty big deal because you just really want to feel comfortable in your space. I also have back problems, and I was like, there is no way I can be hunched over every time I want to stand up. I just can't do that. So that makes a lot of sense. So what I would imagine when I was looking at vans, one of the things that was most important to me, and I'm not sure that everyone will feel this way, but I feel like a lot of people look for something that looks really great. And I'm like, you can change the way that something looks, but I want something that runs really well for a long time. That's kind of what made me really determined to have a Sprinter because of the diesel engines. They're known as the 1,000,000-mile engines that can just run for ever. So to me, that was so key because I'm like, I can change something if it doesn't look quite like what I'm looking for. Of course, in my case, I was buying a van that was mostly how I wanted it to be. And in your case, you're looking for something that you're going to build out yourself. Was kind of what's under the hood a big part of what made you decide to go a specific direction?
Absolutely, Nicole. This vehicle, although it's done over 300,000 kilometres now, is very, very little rust. There's only a little bit of surface, like, stone chips and stuff like that. So that was a big one for us. We did
Rust.
one van that had a rust in the floor.
Holes in the floor.
It actually had holes in the floor, so we crossed that one out immediately. So that's a big consideration. You've got to make sure that the shell is solid. There's no rust. 100%. As far as the engine goes, the engine had only done about 67,000 kilometres. It had been replaced. The original one was replaced, and I can honestly say that this engine hasn't used any oil at all. It will go another 500,000 kilometres, without a problem. I'm confident of that. That said, you've got to look after it. So, I'm reasonably mechanically able in that sense, and I do the oil changes, oil and filter, and you want to keep on top of that. And so that you're always changing out fresh oil every as per the manufacturer. 30,000 Ks is actually what Mercedes recommend. It's pretty good, isn't it? As you said, they're pretty robust.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I mean, my car, I used to do Sue's oil on her little Kia Rio. I did it every 5,000 kilometres, and I do my Land Cruiser every 5,000 kilometres. But it's probably a bit of an overkill, and I started doing that with this van.
It costs a lot to change the oil. This has like 12 litres of oil. It costs
$200.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It's expensive, so
we dropped it back.
It's off the back of that. I do it every 15,000 Ks now. That's just me, but yeah,
right.
30,000 apparently.
That's incredible. So we've got the thinking about what's under the hood, thinking about the shell, and I don't know if there are any other vans that really compare to a Sprinter. I couldn't find anything out there when it came to just mechanically what they're able to do and how long, just the reliability of the vehicle. I saw a lot of really beautiful Ford Transits that had been really well done, but I was like, they only get like 150,000 miles and then that's over. When I say that's over, you're going to have to make a big engine replacement or something, engine, transmission. And you can do that. I suppose if you get a good deal on a Ford Transit, you can budget that you're going to have to replace your engine after, a certain amount of miles. But to me, it was just like, man, even if I have to pay a little bit more to have a Sprinter, I'd rather have that and know that it's going to last a really long time. So out of those like main considerations, what have you found to be more important about your van than you had initially imagined?
What have we done now? 60,000 or
70, over 70,000 kilometres.
70,000 kilometres.
It's about 50,000 miles.
In 3 years. And you're going to get breakages and whatnot. We just did over $3,000 worth of, servicing recently as we prepare to sell the vehicle. It's a German machine, and with that, the parts are very expensive. So I don't know how that compares with Ford. Maybe a little bit cheaper if you go with Ford. I don't know, but we have heard of people who've had to change out their engine in their Mercedes, haven't we? They've had blowouts, but I don't know how diligent they were with their maintenance. That's why I can't stress enough how important it is to at least change your oil, so you don't have all those, basically all that's like sandpaper, if you don't change it out.
Like, since we've been in the van, I think for me, the thing that I didn't realise would be as important as it has been is getting from the driver's seat into the back has been fantastic. When we arrive at a campsite and it's raining, so we don't have to go outside to get into the living part of the van. That's like a huge thing. And that's also where we see the beauty of a camper van as opposed to a car towing a caravan or like an Airstream or, a trailer like you mobile the one that you tow, fifth wheeler or something like that. Our home is with us all the time. That's huge too. Like, we see people that can leave their caravan at a campsite and go to the waterfall for the day. But when they come out of the waterfall and they've been for a swim, where do they go to get changed? Where are all their dry clothes? Where's all their snacks? Where's their cup of tea? And, so we've got the home with us the whole time. Where's their beer? Yeah. So that is the beauty of having the van that, has become so much more apparent to us since we've been living in it.
It really is. It's a mobile tool. It's great to have it. And it means you don't have to take your picnic set up with you, every time. It's here with us. So we're strapping it on and away we go. It's great.
I am learning because I've only been out in the van that I bought once. And one of the things I love to do here is go visit some of the manatee spots, which you have to get in the water when it's really cold. And so I used to go and drive in a car and then be freezing. And, now there's a place to go in, to change, to, it's like you said, having your home right there. And I'm already loving that, even though not doing van life full time yet, but it really is quite the benefit and makes it really great to just have it everywhere with you. In thinking about what type of van to purchase and picking out a van and maybe going to see some, we all know, and I hope everyone out there knows, you should definitely, if you're not someone that understands the mechanics of a car and how to inspect it yourself, having someone take a look at all of that for you, having someone come and do an inspection for you, I think is definitely worth the money there. But what do you think about having the body inspected, the body of the van?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's like,
for rust.
It's like buying a house. You have you pay for that house inspection, looking for termites so. It's the same deal. I would recommend spending that money if you're having to outlay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. The cost of the few hundred is definitely worth it. So you're not ending up with a lemon and you got to get rid of and start again.
Right. And I think also, depending on where you are, I'm not sure what the regulations are in the United States, but here in Australia, the regulations are quite strict in terms of carrying gas or propane in your van and also the electricity. Okay. So we have both 12 volt and 240. We don't run on 110 here. We've got 240. But, your regular plugs in the house. So here in Australia, that side of the van has to be done by a licensed electrician. So if you are buying a van that has already been converted, make sure that you know what the regulations are in your particular part of the world and that your van does have the certifications that it requires. So obviously we had a licensed gas fitter to fit in all our gas, propane. We had a licensed electrician to do the 240 to sign all that off. And then we had to take the van to another, like an engineer type person who had to certify that the whole conversion was okay. And they give us what's called a modification plate, which is something that's attached to the van permanently. So this van, which was once a cargo van, is now a certified motorhome. So we register and insure it as a motorhome now. So if you are buying something, that has already been converted, make sure that it has all been done legally, because if you have an accident, you may find that you're not insured and, you may find that you're also liable for the cost of another vehicle if you have a accident with another vehicle. So that's just, you do that when you buy a car, you make sure that it's registered and, it's all kind of legal, but there's those extra things to think about when you are buying or even building your own van, just that you do it all above board. And we see some pretty dodgy looking vans out on the road. And I know that some of the regulations aren't as strict. I know we've watched van builders in the UK who do all their own gas work, where we can't do that in Australia. So, I know that the regulations are different wherever you are.
It's more strict here, but we're kind of glad it is.
Right.
And the advantage is that we can sell our van legitimately as a converted motorhome.
Yeah.
So the price tag is going to be relative to to what we're presenting. We know that these people that may want to sell their van, that have done it on the sly, done it dodgily, then they've suddenly got a problem. Okay, how we're going to do this, whereas we don't have to think about that.
Right.
It's worth that extra work and expense to get where we are now.
Right. For sure. That makes a lot of sense. I think I'm not sure about everything in the U.S., but it's definitely coming up more often now that van life is so popular on insurance and how the insurance companies handle it. From what I understand here, there's not a lot of regulation. There's not nearly as much regulation as what you all mentioned. So people can do whatever they want to their vehicles to some degree. But it's like there's certain things that once those things have been added, it makes it like some sort of official conversion for insurance purposes or other things. And so I think it has to be like a fixed kitchen with some sort of stove area, maybe a fixed bathroom placement, some different things like that. I think it's beneficial here if you can get yours officially registered as a camper van of sorts, because I believe the insurance costs a little bit less from what I understand. But there's not as much regulation, which would probably be good if we had a little more. But, Americans don't love regulations. So.
Yeah, it kind of goes both ways.
Like that.
We think we have too much here in Australia. So, yeah.
Well, what are some questions that someone should be asking the owner of a vehicle before they purchase it?
I'd straight away ask to see the service logs of the vehicle, see what history it has, with servicing. If there's a massive gap between services, or it's had nothing showing for the last, 100,000 Ks. I mean, that said, for us, all we can do is show receipts for the oil, because we don't take it into Mercedes every service check. But at the very minimum, you want to be asking for, can you please show me evidence of servicing on this vehicle?
Yeah. And I guess also just being aware of what the regulations are, and if there are regulations in the area where you're buying it, to see that documentation.
Some of the questions that I would expect people to ask us as we come into selling our van, we already covered the first two, is, so who built your van? Now, obviously, we did 90% of it ourselves. Who did your plumbing? Who did, so we ran all the cables. And so we can answer that. I mean, I've got a little bit of experience with renovating houses and stuff. So, the university YouTube covers off on a lot of the gaps in between, but that's a question that I would imagine they'll ask us.
I've just thought of another thing too, is particularly with a van that has been built non-professionally, but even some of those professional ones, is each vehicle in a van has what's called in Australia, and I'm pretty sure it's the same there, a GVM, a gross vehicle mass. So that is the maximum weight that the vehicle can be. And again, we see a lot of these self-built vans that are for sure over their GVM. So it's worthwhile, if you're looking at a van, go and drive it over a weighbridge, and then consider, like we sit very close to our maximum GVM. And that is considered with a full tank of gas, petrol, and full water tanks. So, and then, there's an allowance for the passengers and their clothing and that sort of thing. So, yeah, when you are inspecting a van, pay that. I think it costs us $30 or something to take it over the weighbridge. So that is a big consideration. Really good, because again, if you have an accident and your vehicle is over the GVM, if it's too heavy, your insurance is null and void. That's here in Australia. It's probably the same in the States. So that's a good question to ask. Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That information about the GVM, like vehicles all have a little plate just inside the door that tells you all that information.
Okay. I was thinking as you all were talking, one thing that I would recommend for folks, I'm a super forgetful person. And when I purchased this van recently, there was all of this stuff. And I'm like, he's the guy that owns it. He's walking me through. We spent all this time. He's showing me these things. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to remember all of this. And so I said, hey, can I just follow you around and take a video of you telling me all of this?
Yeah, good call.
Which was super helpful because I'll always have that and I can reference it. So if you're buying something, especially if you're not familiar with van life vans and how everything works, I'd recommend that. It could be really helpful.
Great idea. You know,
Yeah.
we'll do that too.
We'll do that. Yeah. Thank you for that tip. We'll do that when we sell it. Yeah. We'll do that for the seller.
So many little intricacies.
The buyer.
With the van that needs to be explained. I was thinking of, writing down notes. We could do that as well.
No,
but
better to do it on video. Yeah.
Good point.
Well, this has been a fun conversation. I can't wait to do the next couple of episodes where we dig a little bit more into talking about the vans and van life. This is, I know, an adventure I'm excited to take. And it's going to be cool to see you guys transition from Australia to Europe. And you're going to buy a van that's already done there? Is that right?
Well, we would love to do another build, but we're going somewhere we don't have a workshop and we don't have tools. So, if that magically appeared, like if someone's hearing this and they're like, you can come and use my workshop and all my tools, then we'd consider doing another build. But as it is, I think we're going to have to look for an already built out van.
Seeing that one in the universe.
Well, I'm excited to see it all take place, and remind everybody listening where they can watch your YouTube videos. You've got lots of cool van life stuff and other things. Where can they find all of that? So
on YouTube, we are Nigel and Sue Adventures. So same for our website, nigelandsueadventures.com. We've got lists of all the products that we've used in our van build. We've got a few van build videos on our channel, not the whole build because we had a hard drive failure. We always do 2 backups now. And Instagram, we are at NAS, Nigel and Sue, NAS_adventures. So YouTube's the main one though. Yeah. That's awesome. Definitely be sure to go and subscribe to their channel and check out all their awesome stuff. Can't wait to see the next adventure in Europe. Well, for those of you listening, thank you so much for being here. Let us know what you think. If you're thinking about building a van, we'd love to see your questions and can jump in and try to answer them for you. And let us know if you have any topics you'd like for us to cover. We're just excited to be here with you. So thank you so much for listening. And as always, I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.